Strategic Dream: Putting the Power of Your Subconscious Mind to Work by Joseph Murphy. Reach new levels of career success using the power of your subconscious mind. Chapter 11: Becoming a Leader. You will never succeed in leadership unless you truly believe you can be a leader. You must install in your subconscious mind two simple conditions. You must believe that what you want can happen, but you must believe that it will happen. All successful people are not leaders, but all good leaders are successful people. Not only they are personal achievers, but they also inspire others to be achievers. They do not only enjoy the fruits of their success, but also strive to help others become successful. The belief that leaders are born, not made, has been generally accepted throughout the ages. Indeed, it was the basis of feudalism and the system absolute monarchy. Even in America, where people of humble beginnings have risen to high positions, many still feel that they were born with these traits that make them leaders. In most business organizations, certain men and women rise from the ranks to position of supervision and management. Are all of these people natural leaders? Experience has shown that the answer is not necessarily. People move into position of leadership and responsibility for many reasons: seniority, election in the public sector, nepotism, or superior performance. They are not chosen for their leadership ability or experience, so they have to be thought to be leaders. The achievement of a high position does not ensure success in leadership. People have to learn to lead. They study leadership techniques and read inspiring books, attend lectures, and put into practice what they have learned. Characteristics of great leaders. Although each of the great leaders of the past and present have special characteristics that make them great, there are some aspects of their personalities that they all have in common. In my opinion, outstanding leaders all share the following qualities. 1. Great leaders identify, cultivate, and inspire enthusiastic followers. Few businesses or enterprises can survive and thrive without staff of people to carry out the leader's program. In every generation, in every country, in every aspect of life, it has been such people who have led armies to victories, inspired great art and music, and developed prosperous companies and dynamic organizations. The art of all arts for the leader is the ability to measure others, weight them, to size them up, to estimate their strength and eliminate their weaknesses. Leaders surround themselves with people who have the ability that they lack, who can supplement their weaknesses and shortcomings with strength and ability. Those in their combined power, they make an effective force. To do this is a good leader may often have to shake up his organization and even step aside. A good example of this, Sean Parrish, founder of Bakery Barn, producer of a protein cookie. He grew the company to the 6 million level in fewer than 5 years. Throughout sales in fitness gyms and 7-Elevens, but somewhere around 2005, Bakery Barn's rise to the top stalled, forcing Parrish to look again at his team, himself included. The company had veered off into new products based on his own ideas, which went unquestioned. His senior management team, primarily family members, had been fine at the beginning, but now he recognized that neither he nor they had the culinary or business experience needed to save the company. Fresh blood was needed, so he hired a full-time comptroller and started interviewing presidential candidates. He also got a 3-person research and development team to bring new and more objective insight into management decisions. This bold, difficult move was also required of a much more high-profile founder, David Neeleman, once CEO of JetBlue, an innovative, no-frills airline, thought he reminded on a chairman of the board. Neeleman realized that he did not have the management skills to take JetBlue to the next level. That didn't mean he wasn't great visionary and entrepreneur. On the contrary, what it was proof was that he was all that and more a true leader. 2. Great leaders focus their efforts. Great leaders know that they want and concentrate their efforts to reach those goals. The people who do not learn to focus their efforts early in life to centralize power will never achieve marked success in anything. People who have the power for unification, whose every effort has reference to one central aim, are the ones who reach to the top of the wall. They understand that it is not the amount of work that they can accomplish at a stretch, but rather persistence that tells. It is the long, steady pull, the unconquerable purpose, and the unbroken effort that wins the battle of life. 3. Great leaders have faced and overcome great difficulties. Adversity can destroy some people, but all good leaders have faced adversity and bounced back to great glories. Robert Fulton, the creator of the steamboat, failed several times. His ship was derried as Fulton's Folly until finally it made its first successful voyage and revolutionized water transportation. Helen Keller, blind and deaf since infancy, overcame this handicap and became a respected and idolized writer and educator. A shy, unpretentious and house lawyer named Darwin E. Smith became CEO of Kimberly-Clark, then a declining traditional paper manufacturer in 1971. KC stock had fallen badly over the years. At least one director didn't hesitate to remind Smith that he wasn't exactly qualified to lead the company, but that didn't stop the new CEO from utterly transforming Kimberly-Clark from a uninspired brand to the leading paper-based consumer product company in the world. Smith had grown up poor and used the experience to steel his resolve. 2 months after becoming CEO, he was diagnosed with cancer and was told he had a year to live. He used his predicament to call up some more resolve. He programmed his subconscious mind to believe that he could overcome this disease and push out all thoughts and fears of failure. He refused to lie down and die. He continued going to work during his radiation treatment and not only revitalized his own life but rebuilt his company. What the business world most admires about the little known Darwin Smith, though, is one of the first executive decisions to sell the mills. He and his team had decided that the coated paper end of the business wasn't where Kimberly-Clark should be headed any longer, and that throwing KC into the wholly competitive consumer paper products industry would force the company to either thrive or die. It was the gutsiest move anyone had ever done. The business press damned the decision as stupid, and Wall Street downgraded the company's stock. But Smith's resolve held. 25 years later, Smith had the competition solidly beat and is today a leader in the industry. He explained his success by saying that he simply never stopped believing in himself and viability of his company. 4. Great leaders expect more from themselves than they do from others. Success is not dependent solely on your earnest affirmation on your self-confidence, but also on the confidence of others in you. But this confidence is very largely a reflection of your own. The effect of your own personality on them, your own attitude of mind, is therefore the means to produce this confidence in others. Your earnest affirmation is contagious. It affects everyone with whom you come in contact, especially those whom you must master. Whether as a teacher, an orator, an attorney, a sales rep, a merchant, a possible employee, or in some other way, there is something that seems almost magical in way of confident air influences other people. If you adopt or acquire it, you will be surprised to see how soon it will radiate on others, increasing their confidence in your ability to do the things you undertake. Never lose your self confidence. If at times you begin to doubt your capabilities and strengths, read chapter 2 of this book and reinforce the power of your subconscious mind to rebuild your self confidence. 5. Great leaders are not afraid to make tough decisions. Whether leading a nation or a corporation, every day the leader faces problems that require decisions. In some cases, there is adequate time to think, to assess and evaluate all of the circumstances surrounding the problem. But quite often, an immediate decision is needed. The good leader must make such decisions. An astounding example of this occurred in September 1982. When 7 people died after taking Tylenol, it was discovered that several bottles of that product had been tampered with Zydine, a deadly poison had been injected into the tablets. McLean Laboratories, a division of Johnson & Johnson, the manufacturers of Tylenol, took immediate action. They recalled all of the products on the market and destroyed it. More important, the top management of the firm went on TV and explained the situation. They assured the public that Tylenol would not be reintroduced until every caution had been taken to make it safe. The immediate result was catastrophic. Market share fell from 35% to only 8%. But because of the rapid and sincere response of the leaders of McNeil and JJ, the market share was not only recovered but exceeded within a year. Another example of an executive who made a tough and unpopular decision is Charles R. Cork, Walgreens, who took over the Walgreens drugstore company in 1975. At that time, most drugstores had lunch counters which provided a significant share of their income. Cork Walgreens felt that the growth of the fast food chain had made the drugstore food operations obsolete and decided that the company's future lay in product sales, not food service. It was a controversial decision. As the company had 500 lunch counters, the connection to this side of the business was not as much financial as it was emotional. The Walgreens food service division dated back to Cork's grandfather, so it took a great deal of resolve on the part of Cork Walgreens to put an end to all that. Cork decisions paid off. A Walgreens today is one of the most profitable companies in this field. A lunch counter are virtually gone from all drugstores. 6. Great leaders have vision and utmost faith in themselves to fulfill that vision. The great leaders of the world all have had their visions. They knew what they wanted to accomplish, visualized its outcome, and devoted all their energies and emotions to accomplish that vision. Most important, they truly believe in their own capabilities to do this. Having such faith gave them the strength to pursue their goals. American Express CEO Ken Charlton had been faced with many surprises and detours, but none as dramatic as the one that took place directly across the street from American Express headquarters of September 11, 2001. He refers to the tragedy as formative experience that added to his already formidable leadership abilities. Chenault saw the obvious on 9/11, that it was a crisis and would be seen by many as a major obstacle to the progress of his leadership. Chenault did not hesitate to make key decisions. His faith in his ability to lead enabled him to call on his leadership skills, agreeing that the most valuable experience always seemed to come in forms of crisis. Chenault says it's essential at such a time to utilize the attributes that are really important and focus on them, so you're not just using them unconsciously but consciously. This gives a leader an advantage. He says everyone can make the conscious choice to be a leader. The kind of outstanding leaders Charnock says he wants to work with are what he describes as rationally and emotionally engaged people. 7. Great leaders are ambitious for themselves, their company, and their people. No matter how poor you may be, how humble you look up, don't be afraid to aim too high. Keep your eye fixed upon your star. Let others ridicule if they will, but do not let them induce you to relax to fixity of your gaze. It is this setting, the eye on a single star, that has distinguished a great man and woman of every age. Mary Kay Ash, the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics, attributes her success to the lifelong ambition to reach to the top. Her sales career began when she joined Stanley Home Products, a door-to-door marketing firm. She often commented that she was not all successful during her first year and was ready to give up. This changed when she attended her first Stanley sales seminar. She reported, "There I saw this tall, svelte, pretty successful woman crown queen as a reward for being the best in the company contest, and I determined to be that queen the following year," which seemed impossible. However, I decided to go up and talk to the president and to tell him that I intended to be the queen next year. He didn't laugh at me, but looked me in the eyes, held my hand, and said, "Somehow I think you will." Those 5 words drove me, and the next year I was queen. Mary Kay started her own business in 1963 in a 500 square foot storefront in Dallas. With the help of her family, a life savings of $5,000, and only 9 sales force members, over the years under her leadership, the company showed continuing growth. By demonstrating her commitment to her own and her company's success, Mary Kay inspired her sales staff to set high goals for themselves and to work hard to attain them. In 2007, there were more than 1 million independent sales reps in the Mary Kay organization, grossing more than $2 billion in sales. Delegation. One of the key requirements for success as a leader is the ability of willingness to delegate decisions making to subordinates. Too many managers are reluctant to do this. Successful leaders recognize that they cannot do everything. They hire and train the most capable people they can find and allow them to make decisions within their areas of expertise, so they are free to use their time on matters at a higher level. Most managers have more work to do than they can ever expect to accomplish in the course of normal workdays. In order to get it done, they must delegate part of that work to subordinates. To delegate means to assign a subordinate duties or tasks and the power and authority to perform them. It is not just assigning the least challenging or unpleasant parts of the job to subordinates. Effective delegation requires that significant aspect of the work to be delegated. This not only frees up the executive to do more important tasks, but also enables the subordinates to gain from the experience. Business leaders have often told me that they are so accustomed to performing many of the tasks they do, and do it so well that they are reluctant to delegate to work to others. As one manager told me, "I find myself looking over my people's shoulder as they work. I just don't feel comfortable delegating." The first step is to acknowledge that even though you can do the first job faster and perhaps better than your subordinates, your time is much too valuable to waste on lesser matters. Here are some guidelines that will enable you to delegate with confidence. Select capable people. In choosing your key subordinates, be sure that they are not only capable of doing the work for which you hire them, but have the potential to be trained to move up into positions of higher responsibility. Communicate what you are delegating clearly and concisely. To ensure that the subordinates understand what you expect from him or her, don't just ask, "Do you understand?" Most people will say yes. Perhaps they really do understand, perhaps they think they understand, but their interpretation of what you want is different from yours. Or perhaps they don't understand at all but are too embarrassed to tell you. Ask specific questions about what the subordinates plans to do to carry out the assignment. Set control points. A control point is a place at which you stop. Examine what has been accomplished, and if errors have been made, correct them. This is important because major errors are not discovered until the last minute. The problem will get out of hand. A control point is not a surprise inspection. The subordinates know exactly when each control point will occur and what should be accomplished by then. Having control points do not mean you do not have confidence in the subordinates. Let your people know at the outset that you do have confidence in them, and emphasize that control points are designed to help them, not check them. Control points enables them to measure their progress themselves. Give your subordinates the tools and authority to get the job done. If the assignment requires expenditure of money, include in the delegation a budget for the work and the authority for the person doing it to spend the allotted amount without asking your approval for each expense. If the work requires hiring additional personnel or having people work overtime, give them the authority for this as part of the delegation. This will ensure that you will not be constantly interrupted in your work to deal with these matters. Provide help if and when needed. This may sound like a contradiction. You delegate to curtail your own activities in the area delegated. If you offer to help, are you not encouraging interruptions? To minimize the time spent on this, require that when a subordinate brings you a problem, he or she brings with it a suggested solution. In this way, the subordinates will have to think about it and quite often will find his or her own solution and not come to you at all. And if the subordinates does come, the time spent on dealing with the problems will be much shorter. Know your strengths and limitations. Before you can enter the race and be admitted to the success track, you must first of all have the definite purpose, a high, unwavering aim, and you must have the courage, grit, and determination to cling to it no matter what stands in the way or opposes you. You will never succeed in leadership unless you truly believe you can be a leader. You must instill in your subconscious mind two simple conditions. You must believe that what you want can happen. You must believe that it will happen. There is a force in spoken words that is not steered by going over the words mentally. When vocalized, words make a more lasting impression upon the mind. Many of us are now powerfully impressed and inspired by listening to a great lecture or sermon than by reading the same thing in print. We remember the spoken words when we forget the code type that carries through to the brain. It makes a deeper impression on the inner self. We can talk to our inner or subconscious mind just as we will talk to a child, and we know from experience that it will listen to and act on our suggestions. We are constantly sending suggestions or commands to our subconscious mind. We may not do so audibly, but we do so silently, mentally. Unconsciously, we advise, we suggest, we try to influence it in certain direction. By consciously, audibly addressing it in heart-to-heart talks with ourselves, we find that we can very materially influence our habits, our movies, and our methods of living. In fact, the possibilities of influencing their character in the life by this means are practically limitless. Start by writing out a list of qualities that make a strong, courageous, successful character, and their opposites. Those that make a weak, timid, unsuccessful one, and examine yourself to see what your rating is on each list. Call the characteristic off aloud: faith, courage, self-confidence, ambition, enthusiasm, perseverance, concentration, initiative, cheerfulness, optimism, truthfulness, etc. Ask yourself if you possess these splendid qualities or if you incline towards their opposites. Don't be afraid to face your weak points or to call your faults by their right names. Bring them into the light. See them for what they are, and then grapple with them. You cannot afford to be less than God intended you to be less than you feel you should be and can be, to have your life spoiled by some defect that you can overcome. When you have gone over the specific character qualities, ask yourself these broader questions, always visualizing and addressing yourself by name. Bob, what are you here for? What do you mean to the world? What message does your life, your career bring to it? What do you mean to your company, organization, or community? Beth, what do you stand for? What do you represent? Are you delivering it patiently, persistently, determinedly, without grumbling, whining, or shrieking? Ask yourself, am I dreaming of the big thing I am going to do tomorrow, or am I just doing the little things that I can do today? Probe yourself in this manner until you get a good line on yourself and a fair estimate of yourself, until you know both your strengths and your weaknesses, until you can see with clear eyes the things that are keeping you back, the lack in your nature that is handicapping you. Your weaknesses are cutting down the average of your ability by 10, 20, 50, or even 75%. Then vigorously attack your enemies, the enemies of your success, of your efficiency, or your happiness. Constantly, stoutly affirm your complete mastery over them, their powerlessness to dominate your life and ruin your career. Engage your subconscious mind. By heart to heart, talk of this sort of with yourself. You can change your whole nature and revolutionize your career. Whether it is faith, courage, initiative, cheerfulness, whatever it is, lack. Assume the quality you wish to possess. Affirm positively that it is already yours. Exercise it whenever possible. Concentrate on it, and you will be surprised how quickly you can acquire the desire. We need to tell our subconscious exactly what we want. We need to direct it to help us attain our goals. When you know that your true desire really is, your unconscious mind will propel you to unerringly towards it. But it needs to know that you generally, fervently, and unwaveringly want this goal, and that you will not forsake it for all the other conflicting and contradictory wishes, notions, and momentary fancies that flit through your mind. Power comes from within or from nowhere. Be yourself. Listen to the voice within. There is room for improvement in every profession, in every trade, and in every business. The world wants people who can do things in new and better ways. Don't think that because your plan or ideas have no precedent, or because you are young and inexperienced, you will not get a hearing. The person who has anything new and valuable to give to the world will be listened to and will be followed. If you have a strong individuality and dare to think your own thoughts and originate your own methods, if you are not afraid to be yourself and are not a copy of someone else, you will quickly get recognition. Until you erase faith and can't and doubt from your vocabulary, you cannot rise. You cannot get strong while you harbor convictions of your weakness, or be happy while you dwell on your miseries and misfortunes. Be committed to what you want to accomplish. One of the most effective ways to motivate yourself is to firmly commit to what you desire to accomplish. When things go wrong, when obstacles seem unconquerable, when discouragement raises its face, your commitment will motivate you to keep up the fight. The only way to develop power is to resolve early in life never to let an opportunity for doing so go by. Never shrink from anything that will give you more discipline, better training, and enlarged experience. No matter how distasteful, force yourself into it. There is nothing like responsibility for developing ability, never mind if the position is hard. Take it and make up your mind that you are going to feel it better than it has ever been filled before. Leaders must blaze their own way, make their own path, or they will never make much of an impression on the world. It is striking originality that attracts attention. To be a leader, do not follow others. Do not imitate, do not do things just as everybody else has done them before, but try new, ingenious ways. Show the people in your specialty that precedents do not cut much of a figure with you, and that you will make your own program. Don't be afraid to trust yourself. Have faith in your own ability to think along original lines. Whatever you do, cultivate a spirit of independence in doing it. Sum and substance. You will never succeed in leadership unless you truly believe you can be a leader. You must instill in your subconscious mind two simple conditions. You must believe that what you want can happen. You must believe that it will happen. One of the key requirements for success as a leader is the ability and willingness to delegate decisions making your subordinates. Too many managers are reluctant to do this. Successful leaders recognize that they cannot do everything. A successful leader hires and trains the most capable people he or she can find and allows them to make decisions within their areas of expertise, so that the leader is free to use his or her time on matters of a higher level of importance. Don't think that because your plan or idea has no precedence, or because you are young and inexperienced, you will not get a hearing. The person who has anything new and valuable to give to the world will be listened to and will be followed. Don't be afraid to face your weak points or to call your faults by the right names. Bring them into the light, see them for what they are, and then grapple with them. You cannot afford to be less than God intended you to be less than you feel that you should be and can be. You have your life spoiled by the defects that you can overcome. To be a leader, do not follow others. Do not intimidate. Do not do things just as everybody has done them before. But try new, ingenious ways. Show the people in your specialty that precedents do not cut much of a figure with you, and that you will make your own program. Turning your dream into a strategic dream. Dream big. Peace.